Sibling rights after parent's death and family dispute over property in California. That's our topic today. We'll get started right after this. Inheritance disputes among siblings are more common than you'd think. Many people mistakenly think that family members, especially siblings, are unlikely to go to court with them over inheritance disputes. Unfortunately, that's not necessarily the case. We'll be talking about that and also share tips to help siblings avoid or resolve an estate battle, because estate litigation between siblings is more common than you think. Statistically speaking, of all inheritance disputes, 44% feature a dispute between siblings over the validity of the will, which is more than disputes between parents and their children or other relatives. And that's why we want to go over sibling rights after parent's death. The reason is simple. A parent's choice to distribute more or less of their estate to one child over another is a deeply personal decision. It often can represent a measure of parents' trust in their children or lack thereof, and can cause family dispute. The effects of inheritance disputes and also family dispute over property cannot be understated. Not only can such disputes lead to lengthy and expensive legal battles, but they can also cause irreversible damage to families. Of those who got into a family dispute over property, close to 1/3 claimed that the remaining members of their family stopped talking to each other as a result of the dispute, and that's sad. Hi, I'm Kim Ward. I have been helping trustees, executors, and administrators with home and trust administration or probate here in beautiful San Diego for 20 plus years. And I'm happy to share what I have learned during those 2 decades. So let's continue. If you are anticipating a family dispute over property with one of your siblings, consider the following mitigation strategy to help minimize conflict. You may want to hire a professional mediator or use a collaborative process. An increasingly popular and effective option for resolving family dispute over property after a parent has died is to hire a professional mediator. A mediator is a trained third party and neutral person who facilitates discussion between disputing parties and helps guide everyone to an agreement that best represents their interests. Mediation is a less expensive, more efficient, and less contentious alternative to probate litigation. If you are not able to resolve a family dispute over property, it may be preferable for you to hire a professional mediator prior to going to court. When there is a serious problem involving a family business, a professional mediator can help. Bring all the siblings together and work with the mediator to reach a consensus. Another idea is to just have a buyout or a liquidation. If siblings who are at odds with each other inherit property jointly and are having a family dispute over property, one sibling may buy out the other. However, in many cases, a sibling cannot afford to do so, especially if the shared property is large and expensive, as in the case of property here in California. The best option to avoid an even bigger family dispute may be to liquidate the property and divide the proceeds. Before selling any large assets, however, be sure to speak with a tax attorney or CPA to discuss the tax implications of the sale. If you anticipate a family dispute over property, it is best to consult an estate planning attorney about your options with problems such as 1. Disputes over inheritance and estate taxes. 2. Disputes over specific assets or property in California being inherited. 3. Any kind of will interpretation disputes. 4. Issues of will fraud, coercion, or undue influence. 5. Challenges to the heirs or beneficiary status. When considering sibling rights after parent's death, if your parents made a will or possibly a trust, you're entitled to inherit their estate after their death. But what if your parents did not leave a will or a trust? Or if the terms of their will or trust are invalid? How will the estate and property in California be distributed? I'm in the process of helping with a home that there had been a trust, but somehow it was misplaced. The person who passed away had dementia, and it's believed that perhaps he burned it or went through a bout of shredding things. So there wasn't a trust, but the house was held in the trust. On the recorded deed, it's held in the trust. And now we have a house that is held in a trust, but we don't know who the appointed trustee is. We don't know what the trust wanted done with any of the property, including the home of the decedent. So it starts this whole process where my client has to go through probate, but the house has to be changed from being in a trust back into the decedent's name so that we can then sell it through probate, because my client had already been appointed by the probate courts to be the administrator of the estate. So this is how things can get very complicated, and you need someone like a probate attorney that knows how to get the property out of the trust and get it able to be sold as a probate. And you need someone like me to help guide you also through that process of finding that right attorney and then going through the lengthy process, which is literally taking over 2 months to get an appointment with the probate courts to have the property moved out of the trust and back into the decedent's name so that it can be sold. So you can see how things can get very complicated very fast. Parents frequently leave their children with memories they will never forget. Parents may also leave debts or assets for the children to deal with. Assets such as property in California is a good thing. The debts, not so much. Let's dig deeper into sibling rights after parents' death. And if your parents have a will, what sibling rights after parents' death do you have? When both of your parents have passed away, there can be a lot of questions about the estate. One common question is, what happens to the estate if the parent dies with a will? Generally, the will dictates who inherits the estate, including property here in California, and how it is divided among heirs. You have certain rights that must be respected if you are a beneficiary named in your deceased parent's will. What are the sibling rights after death if they die without a will? If both your parents died intestate or without a will, the state's intestacy law will dictate how the estate is divided. If your parents died without a will, the intestate property passes in the following order. Number 1 is the spouse. 2 is the descendants, children or grandchildren. 3 is parents. 4 is siblings and children of the deceased siblings. You'll want to research intestate succession to educate yourself regarding how that works and who would be the beneficiaries or heirs. When it comes to the assets, it's not too late to preserve sibling harmony, or at least to minimize bad feelings. There are actions you can take to mitigate sibling strife. Parents usually know whether their children are likely to fight over their inheritance or should take action to prevent conflicts after their death. Whatever a parent decides, they should review actions from time to time. Feelings among siblings and financial circumstances can change, and plans can be revised accordingly. If steps are not taken before death, you can still use strategies to minimize conflict during the estate settlement. Consult with a lawyer to decide the best course of action, and always write a will, or even better, draft a revocable living trust. Thank you for watching. Again, I'm Kim Ward here in San Diego. Please like, subscribe, and hit that bell button. And go ahead and comment down below. I answer all your questions and reply to all your comments. Thank you. Have a good day and see you next week.